What's good with it? I want to say a couple of things. The media doesn't really give a damn about your personal political views. They really don't care, okay? You want to know why your favorite YouTuber got banned off of YouTube? You want to know why, one of your favorite content creators got banned off of Twitch or Twitter? It's not because those platforms really gave a shit about what he said. The reason why is money, dog. That's what it is, dog, okay? Corporations, news, media conglomerates, they do not care about your personal politics, okay? Only thing they care about is customer retention and customer engagement. That's it. The bottom line is always money. This is a business, and they're engaged in the game of capitalism just like any other business, okay? They've been cultivating their audience for decades on end. They know what content that their audience engages with, and they deliver that content in order to keep that engagement, in order to keep that interaction, because they run ads on everything that they make, and they make money off of every piece of content that they put out there. So they want people to click, 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 keep engaging with it, okay? They don't really give a damn about the outcomes, right? Whether abortions become illegal, or whether they repeal Roe versus Wade, or whether whether the Democrats end up taking over the Senate. They don't give a damn, okay? Whether it's outrage that they end up manufacturing, whether people get killed or hurt in the streets, they don't care, because they'll just write a story based on that outrage. They'll just write another story based on that outcome, and they'll just keep the engagement going. They actually don't care. The idea of, well, this media group has a left-wing slant and this media group has a right-wing slant, it's an illusion, okay? Fox News would become left-wing if their audience started engaging with more moderate to eventually liberal type content. If their audience started engaging with that more and more and more often, you would see Fox News slowly transition towards being more liberal, And same thing with CNN. CNN, they will become right-wing if their audience started, you know what? We kind of like what the libertarians are saying. Actually, we think that these libertarian values are great. Then they will slowly start transitioning it to be a right wing. But as far as what they inherently or implicitly believe, it's ambiguous, man. They don't give a damn, okay? They got donors and shit. They got people giving them money to run ads. Did y'all see that that ad from Amazon, right? What I guess is Amazon, they were getting tore up in the news, right? Because lots of news articles were going out about them, not treating their employees very well, right? And a lot of us, I believe, deep down know that that's the case. Same thing with Tesla. Not necessarily, treating their employees great. Cutting edge, but not the greatest place to work, right? So they were getting tore up, eviscerated in the news, right? So Amazon, they say, you know what? Let's give some money. We need to do a little PR campaign, try to improve our public image. So they flip some news agencies, some news conglomerates. They flipped them some cash and say, hey, run this PR campaign for us. And guess what? They ran it. The same agencies that were like ripping into them with all this negative press turned around and ran a positive PR campaign because Amazon gave them money to do it. The news conglomerates, they don't give a shit. They don't give a damn. They don't take any position. Maybe the people that work for the news, maybe the reporters and the weather broadcast person, meteorologist, maybe when they go home, they care. But when they're on that job, it's all about the corporations, baby. It's all about the money, dude. Okay? They don't actually care, dude. Like again, going back, the reason why your YouTube person got banned, right? The reason why that happened is because they said something that wasn't consumer friendly, right? They said a joke, you know, maybe it was about Jews or something, or maybe it was about homosexuals. They said a joke. Someone who watched that content got offended, and then they saw a Raid Shadow Legends ad pop up. And then they say, you know what? I'm going to write YouTube, flag this thing as, you know, something that was offensive. Maybe it violates the terms of service. Maybe it doesn't, right? They write whatever they have to say to YouTube. But the real thing that does it is they go to Raid Shadow Legends and they say, hey, I saw your ad. It was connected to, you know, this guy who was talking about, you know, the Holocaust didn't happen and telling all these jokes about Jews and stuff. And I'm personally, you know, offended by that. Do y'all endorse this man's beliefs? Because, you know, your advertisement is connected to his content and it keeps popping up all over his content. Your ad keeps popping up. Raid Shadow Legends, they're going to say, oh, no, you know, we don't support those views. We're not about that. You know, we just want people to engage with our game. You know, all that stuff we denounce. We're not about that. We'll get to the bottom of it. And then Raid Shadow Legends, they go to YouTube and they say, hey man, you know, we handed over quite a bit of money, you know, for you to run our ads. And our ads are being attached to all this content that, you know, that our consumers, you know, don't like. They don't like that content. It's saying a whole bunch of offensive stuff. And then YouTube is like, oh, what video is that? Is this one? The guy with this so-called comedian who has all this funny stuff to say about Jews. And then YouTube would be like, oh, you know what? We got some reports about them. Something about potential violations of the TOS, of the terms of service, right? And they'll say, you know what? We'll get to the bottom of it. YouTube will look at their, you know, consumer agreement, whatever it is when it comes to monetizing, and they'll say, these people are producing content that's not consumer friendly for our ad share, demonetize them. But when it comes to YouTube actually caring about the joke, about whatever was being said on the political aisle, whether it's, you know, left-wing, right-wing, they don't care, dog. It's not about the politics, dude. It's about the money, dog. About the money. That's what really gets the ball moving. Is money. Remember, this is America, okay? This is America, one of the most capitalistic countries ever, okay? They don't give a damn, okay? None of these guys give a damn. So I can understand when it comes to what the mainstream media has done over the course of the years. Mainstream media has done a lot of damage to where I can understand people not wanting to trust them, right? But you got to be real careful about where that ends up leading you, right? If that leads you into a position where you just don't believe the mainstream media wholesale and you start listening to some central authority figure, whether it be a politician or a presidential candidate, who is telling you you can't trust the mainstream media or you can't trust the media at all, and you need to depend on me to tell you what's factual or not. See, that is a very, very dangerous slippery slope. Because, see, that's what leads to authoritarianism and fascism and all the other things that we don't care about. When you start saying, I can't trust my own eyes, I can't trust what other qualified people are telling me because I believe everything they're saying is lies. So I'm going to place my trust in a central figure to tell me what's right or wrong or what's true and false, even when that central figure isn't giving me arguments as to why it's false. They're just asserting that it's false. That's very dangerous, see? Because in this country, we have the First Amendment, right? Everybody wants to talk about the First Amendment when it comes to freedom of speech, right? Just like everybody wants to talk about the Second Amendment when it comes to, you know, their gun rights, right? But in that First Amendment, there's a clause for the freedom of the press, right? And our founding fathers, even though personally I'm not a constitutionalist that would argue everything that we should and ought to do based off of what's written in the Constitution, I do agree that it's important for the public to be informed, for us to have a chance at living in a free society where democracy actually works, right? So, again, I agree that the mainstream media has done a lot of damage to the public discourse, and they have shelled out a lot of misinformation. But at the same time, I understand that as distrustful as you may feel of the mainstream media, this idea that we should just, cancel them wholesale is very, very dangerous, especially in lieu with what we're dealing with, in the White House right now. I don't like that, right? So, segue, that brings me to alternative media, because a lot of people feel, well, I can't trust the mainstream media. I need to engage with someone who speaks my language, who's going to give it to me straight, right? Now that's popular, right? So you got a lot of people who were once critical of the feminazis, who were once anti-SJW, who were once, engaged in the whole Gamergate fiasco. Now all of a sudden these people want to be political experts, okay? And they want to tell you, how to interpret what's going on, in the news and all that stuff, right? Right. So now you got a lot of people who's like, I trust alternative media more than I trust the mainstream media. These people aren't any better, dog. They're not any better, dude. They're driven by the same thing that the mainstream media is driven by, except they lack the credentials to even tell you what itty bits of factual information that the mainstream media will actually give you. See, the mainstream media, they'll tell you the what, when, why, where, and the how. They'll tell you all of that. They'll give you the factual information, but surrounding that factual information is a whole lot of biased commentary, right? That's where they do their work in order to retain their audience, to make the audience believe, oh, these guys are fighting for me. Oh, they said some, bad things about de Blasio. So yeah, I like him, right? But what they say about de Blasio, that's just an opinion, dog. That's just speculation about how they feel given whatever narrative that they're trying to sell you, or that they believe that you're buying into, right? The facts is the what, when, where, why, and the how. All that other shit, discard it, bro. Okay? If you watch something, if you get an article from CNN or MSNBC or Breitbart or Fox News or wherever, if you get or the Federalist or what's another one? Or I know y'all are probably telling me, even though I can't hear you because this is a pre-recorded video, but whatever article, look at what information is the same across. What is the common information? Whatever information that's common, that is present in every single article, that's the facts. Those are the facts. All the other stuff where they start differing, political bullshit. Pay it no mind, dog. Pay it no mind, okay? Because that's for their audience, okay? It's not necessarily based on reality. Someone's right and someone's wrong, but we don't know who that is. And when you start assuming, that's when you get caught up, right? That's when you get called a conspiracy theorist, is when you start trying to explain something that you don't understand because you're not being provided with the answers you want to hear. And then when you start guessing and start grabbing little tidbits of information here to explain stuff that you don't understand, that's when you fall into that rabbit hole, okay? Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. I know it's enticing and it's probably fun, and you meet a lot of people online that have these interesting perspectives, and you might make friends with them and this, that, and the third, but when it comes to the reality of the political landscape, it has no basis, dude. Knock it off, okay? Knock it off, right? But back to the alternative media thing, okay? So these people are no better, right? So for example, right, you have this guy, right, Tim Poole, right? I see him a lot. I don't care for this guy, right? I think he's a very Weasley smooth operator, right? I think he's somewhat of a grifter, right? So a guy like Tim Poole, right? Right. This is how clever this guy is, right? And I have to hand it to him, even though I don't like him. He knows what he's doing, okay? He's very good at it, but that makes me dislike him even more, okay? Even though I'm aware that it's pretty good what he's doing, okay? So, for instance, right, Tim Poole puts out an article, right? He says, in the headline of the article on YouTube, right, he'll say, Antifa kid turned in by parents to the authorities, right? Right? So, that's in his headline, okay? So, he's already taking advantage of the YouTube and the Google algorithm because it's a clickbait title, right? He understands that right now we got this pandemic thing going on. We got this George Floyd thing going on. Lots of protests, lots of riots. You know, people are out there, you know, trying to be heard in different types of ways. Some of them are doing it in a pretty reasonable and understandable way, and some other people are just agitators, provocateurs. They're trying to steal the spotlight. They want all the attention, and they do things that they shouldn't be doing, right? We understand that, right? All right. But we don't know who these people are, right? But in his title, he seems to be stating that it's Antifa, that this kid is associated with Antifa, right? But when you look at the source material that he's pulling to back up what his video is talking about, the source material doesn't mention Antifa at all. Never says it. Never says that he's a part of Antifa. Never says that he was wearing all black or anything that would casually or link him to Antifa. Nothing like that at all. And then when you watch the meat of his video, his commentary, what he's saying, he doesn't mention Antifa at all. No mention of it whatsoever, right? But in his title, it's got Antifa, right? So basically, depending on what content that you watch frequently, right? Because cookies are stored on your devices and your computer and stuff like that. If you have a preconceived notion that Antifa has something to do with the looting and everything that's going on surrounding George Floyd, and you put that up, protest and Antifa, if you put that up in a search engine, whether it be YouTube's search engine or Google's search engine, if you put that up in Google's search engine, the algorithm has a very high chance of linking you to a Tim Poole video. Because Tim Poole, he's pretty popular. Don't know how many subscribers he's got. Don't know how many followers he's got. Maybe hundreds of thousands. Maybe he's crossed over into the millions. I don't know, okay? But he's taking advantage of the algorithm to funnel views his way, okay? But even though he doesn't ever say that this kid is Antifa 100%, his title implies that's the case. And when you go to his comments section for that video, everyone in that comment section has already bought into it. Oh, he's Antifa. And I told you these Antifa provocateurs were, you know, dishonoring George Floyd, and, you know, these leftists don't actually really care, and, you know, they just want to be communists and push their agenda. Like, like, they've already bought it. They've already been duped, right? Tim Poole, he's not going into that comment section and telling them, hey guys, you're jumping to conclusions. You know, we're not 100% sure if this kid's from Antifa. It's just this is just speculation. He doesn't say that. Why would he? Why would he? Right? Because he knows what his audience is. He made the video specifically to keep the consumer engagement and retention of the audience that watches his video. So he's going to cater his content for that, because that's where he gets the engagement. Okay? He doesn't actually ever make the claim that everybody wants to hear that engages with that video or with that content. And he's very careful and he's very smart not to do it, right? Same thing with Candace Owens. Candace Owens, she'll go on Twitter and she'll say, oh, Antifa, is at these, they're at these rallies, they're at these protests, and they're causing trouble, and they're leaving pallets of bricks, and they're instigators, and they're this, that, and the third. But if you actually look at that tweet, she never 100% says it's absolutely Antifa. We know this Antifa. She never says it. What she says is, if I had to guess, I would say that the people leaving those bricks is Antifa. Or if I was to, put a wager on it, I would put my money that's Antifa, right? Some type of way where they can assert something to please their base, but give themselves room to weasel out of it if charges are brought against them, right? Because how terrible would it be that someone says, enough of Antifa. We want to incite violence on Antifa. Trump, right? Enough of that, right? And then some innocent people who people think are Antifa ends up getting harmed. And then legal things are brought against. Hey, Miss Candace Owens, Mr. Tim Poole, you said some things. You were claiming that these people were a part of Antifa, and they weren't, and some harm happened to them. We're going to press charges against you. Because of the way they've structured their content, they're able to weasel out of it. Even though they have people who are engaging in their content who are 100% believing that it's Antifa, and they're rabid and they're ready for direct action against these people, the content creators themselves, they can weasel out of it. Well, it was just speculation. I never actually said that, it was Antifa 100%. Or Tim Poole can be like, yeah, if you watch my video, I never said anything about Antifa. And the titles on YouTube, you can change them. He could keep that title the way it is until he gets the views that he wants to see, that he can change that title. Poof, gone. But the damage has already been done. Damage already done. You know what I mean? Like, it's very slick and it's very weaselly. And that's why I don't respect him, right? That's why I don't like Tim Poole, right? Don't like it, right? And we gotta be careful when you have people who are sharing that content when the meat of that content hasn't been corroborated whatsoever, right? So again, people are like, oh, Antifa has, something to do with these riots and these looters, but that hasn't been substantiated anywhere. We have numerous reports from various police agencies, various police departments and governmental bodies who are catching these looters, doing cross-examinations and trying to figure out what their intent is. A lot of these cross-examinations have led departments to the realization that there are white supremacist groups who are coordinating different attacks on different cities, masquerading as Antifa in order to advance whatever agenda that they're trying to do, right? They're accelerationists, they're extremists. I can't predict them because I don't think like that. I'm not crazy. But that's like what they're finding, okay? And same thing in Washington, D.C., FBI found the same thing, right? None of those reports have substantiated the claim or have corroborated the claim that Antifa in some type of coordinated way has anything to do with any of that at all, right? So it's strange to me when people are sharing that content when there's no evidence for it whatsoever, especially when you tell them that there's no evidence for it, and they know that there's no evidence for it, but they keep insisting that that's the case. That's very strange to me. I can kind of understand it, but I still can't justify it, even if I could. So it's just a no-no, right? And on the other side of the coin, right? Like, people have a claim, you'll see it on Facebook and social media. Oh, the police are masquerading as looters, and they're instigating violence amongst the protesters and stuff like that, right? There's this guy, Jacob Peterson. He's supposedly a St. Paul policeman. None of that is substantiated, dog. You know, none of it. I know you saw the video. Looks very convincing. Guy did look kind of suspicious. But St. Paul Police Department, they did an investigation. I don't know if you want to believe them or not, but they're saying we don't have an officer that matches that guy's description. We don't know who he is. All our officers are accounted for. Okay? Right? Are they lying? I don't know. Are they telling the truth? I don't know. You know? But I'm not 100% on if that guy's a police officer. So I'm not going to talk about it. Same thing about AntiFur's involvement in the looting or whatever. I'm not going to talk about it. If it hasn't been substantiated, I'm not going to be talking about it. Because breaking news is cancer, okay? It's killing us, okay? You know, the idea that a news agency can give you a little snippet, right? We just breaking news. We just found out this little, you know, morsel of information. Engage with it. Engage with it. And then people go out and they engage with it before it's ever been corroborated. And then this lie, this potential lie travels all the way around the world before the truth ever comes out. And then by the time the truth comes out, hey, actually it wasn't this. Breaking news, breaking news. Actually it's this. Now, all this time has gone by. People have ran their narratives. They have doubled down on the things that they've said on social media. And they're unable to deal with that cognitive dissonance that, oh shit, you know, I jumped to a conclusion, I was wrong. So they start ignoring the truth. Oh shit, new information came out. They start ignoring that. We don't care if new information come out. What we're engaged with is way more interesting than the truth right now. This is more entertaining, so this is what we're gonna go for, right? And the news conglomerates, they don't care. Because, oh, the people are saying that the truth isn't entertaining? Well, then we're not obligated to give them the truth, because apparently the truth doesn't give us the consumer engagement and the consumer retention that we want. So we're going to keep giving commentary that alludes towards their conspiratorial shit, because that increases our ad shares, that increases our engagement, and that gives us money. That's what it's about. Money, 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 money.